First of all, I would say all good stories are good stories. I mean, I can, I can watch any of my kids and I, we still go back and watch some of those Disney movies we love, and
Yeah.
um, good stories grab my heart. I mean, good stories that people tell about. I mean, I have a friend who just got out of the hospital today after fighting coronavirus. He really should have died, and I put up a video of him leaving the hospital, and people were writing, what an incredible story. What an example of hope. What a so whether it's human stories that are real life human stories, or where they are tales of some sort that just grab your heart. The Lion King. I mean, I cry at that moment. I watch that Disney movie and I cry. I love it. You know, things were so beautiful and lush and green, and life was so great, and then everything went drab with the wrong king, and the rightful king returns, and life gets put back together. So, um, yeah, I think that the Jewish Christian faith is, how would I say it? I mean, it's so deeply personal. It's not a collection of teachings alone. It is a story.
Hmm.
It is an unfolding drama, and it is about a God who is very personally connected. He is both great and he is near, and he is a God who personally, like he entered the story himself. The author entered the story he was writing, right?
That right there
And
is a very different. Uh,
yes,
that's a very different, attribute of the Christian story than others.
yeah,
Right. So you're saying, um, and
it's
then
all
what?
grounded you know in the year King Uzziah died. Uh, in such and such year, the order went out for a census to be taken. Everything is occurring on a timeline. I mean, it's happening in space and time and history. It's very different than all the other religions in that way. And it's not just giving you a moral code. It's not just giving you some. There's morals certainly a part of it, but it's not just some philosophy of life. It's not just some, hey, here are some tales about cool adventure ideas. It's um, it's not just about some heartwarming emotional experience. It's about creation. It's about eating and drinking and breathing and living and building culture and cities falling apart and people being at odds and families falling apart and putting all this stuff back together. And it's
So
about a hero.
it overlays with our history. And
Yes.
it doesn't happen in a pre-time, prehistory, nebulous divine space, and then have bearing on ours in that sense of a meta. It's a
Yeah.
true sense of a story in that it interlocks seamlessly with you and me here talking
Yeah.
on contraption today.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I love the way Leslie Newbigin would say, "What's the story of the world of which the story of your life is a part?" So
Yeah.
that's what I
Pretty
think. I
up
think
to
Christianity.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Christianity is saying the Jewish Christian faith is saying this is the story. If you really find yourself believing in it and having it, you're really uniting to the God of the story and the hero of the story. That's where you're going to find and discover your true self and the really true story of the world. That's when the world starts, the light starts to really turn on, and you start figuring out how to navigate this thing.
Hmm. That's cool. Say that
Yeah.
again. The last part.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I'm just saying when you start inhabiting, it's like when you start realizing you awaken,
Mm-hmm.
and once you start, this is why I just tell people read it, try to sniff around it, try to investigate it, see if it doesn't make the best sense of the contours of reality. I mean, I think every other story read cuts up reality. It like emphasizes some things and leaves other. Maybe it tells you how great and wonderful and beautiful life is, but it doesn't tell you everything about how stuff sucks and how we're wounded and broken. And or maybe if it does any of that, it doesn't tell you, well, how does it get back? back together? Who heals it? Or
Mm.
does anybody heal it? And where is it headed? How can you tell me about, how can you guarantee me an end that makes the whole traveling journeying along the way make sense? Well, the resurrection, I mean, there's only one. It's like uh oh shoot, what author said that every story ends in death? And the great anthropologist Ernest Becker said that's why all humanity is spazzing, and we can't figure out how to live because we're haunted by the reality that death's the end.
Uh, mm-hmm.
But if there's one story in the middle of history of someone who overturned death in the middle of history, so he can guarantee if he can win that, he can overturn everything that's wrong with us in the world.
Mm.
So Ernest Hemingway is the one who said that every story ends in death. And
Mm.
so, well, I would say except one. You had to have that, the new event in the old story that showed that the wonderful world that we're headed for, which our hearts all long for. And
Mm.
that's why everything along the way is worth it. And that's why we can live this crazy adventure, and we can deal with our depression and discouragement, our fears, and
So a new event
uh,
in a story, is that, what is that? What is the new event in an old story? The old
well,
story is this story
it
we're
was,
still in, obviously. But what's
yeah.
the
I mean,
new event?
Jesus saw himself as a part of this unfolding drama of a world that needed a a, a middle of history hero to um, to do a definitive act of deliverance and rescue, so that he could guarantee the neighborhood was going to be put back together. So the resurrection becomes, I mean, it's not an isolated event. It is a historical moment that is the big game changer, right?
Mm.
So that says anything can be overturned, anything can be healed, anyone can be healed. Death is defeated. Life will win over
Okay,
death.
let me
Love,
stop you right there.
yeah,
So that's very powerful, and that resonates with me. Death is
hmm,
defeated. Heck yeah, sign me up. I like that meta narrative.
yeah,
The only thing is, it sort of feels like that one definition of story, like the fudging, lying aspect. Because I've got, I don't know how many more decades. People that I love have less
right,
than. You can just see them dropping one by one, and
right,
and I'm still sort of living in that with the anthropologist that you mentioned. I'm
yeah,
still living and grappling with
right.
this truth that I see everything ending in death. And so, in what way are you? I mean, obviously, you're not saying death is defeated in that I'm not going to die, and you're not going to die, or are you saying that?
Well, I think it's the difference in where the Bible talks about ages, like the age we're in. In this age,
Yeah.
yes, everyone is going to die, but there is a new age to come
Mm.
at the end of history when He returns. So,
So if I'm
and
part of
part,
this age, okay, I'm part of this age though, and this is the only age that I know. What does, maybe this is what you're about to say, what does, how does this death being defeated, how does this apply to me, other than sort of keeping me in a little bit of a la la land, to think that
well,
death has been defeated?
I would encourage people to think about death as much more than the moment you physically give up the ghost. Death is in the Bible, death is about the disintegration of the neighborhood web of relationships. So it's about my body and soul being separated. It's me and my separation from God, me and the separation from myself, all the divisions we feel within ourselves, sin, guilt, shame. Um, we hate ourselves, we love ourselves. There's all this terrible disunity within ourselves and with each other on macro and micro levels. And we don't know whether to be workaholics or lazy butts. We don't know how to engage with the created order. We don't know whether to love it and get addicted to it, or hate it and run from it and try to escape it. So it's all terribly disordered. So resurrection says, no, it's all, this is why Christians have always, I mean, I think it's fairly historically reliable to say Christians have led the way on education, on hospital building, on the promotion of the healing of social order, on crying out for poverty relief, on um, caring about healing prisons. I mean, not perfectly. I'm not saying that, but there's lots of uh, terrible examples of it. But I mean, especially you see this in the early church. I mean, it is a historical fact. It's one of the reasons, against all odds, the faith spread so much is because these people dove into life. They loved life. They would not, they were like a hope brigade. They kept embracing every aspect of life, but they did it as one who had an incarnate, crucified, resurrected, reigning, and coming again Lord. And so they fought for life. You know, they fought for the well being of the world. They didn't think the resurrection was about escaping the physical order or throwing away the physical order. The resurrection said, we got to put this thing back together.
Hmm.
And so they saw themselves in continuity with the new world that was coming. They were already a part of it. Jesus' resurrection guaranteed it. So it was an unfolding program. Of course, a
Hmm.
lot of us as Christians have done lesser and poorer jobs of explaining that, but Christianity in its most faithful expression, they should be the most faithful pro-world people, lovers of healing the social order.
So you don't think that man is doing a really good job of ripping the world apart? And maybe it'll heal itself by the time man blows himself up. But
Yeah,
but man is sort of doing the opposite of that. And I do have to say that the evangelical Christian
yeah,
group in America that are very outspoken and very present and loud are often very much anti things that are about environmental, like standing up for environmental stuff, things of this world. And a
hmm
big part of theirs, they're looking at the big meta of, hey, all this is going to burn. So why am I spending my money and time messing with it? I just need to be getting my soul right for heaven and streets of gold. Um, and you guys don't know the real story. Y'all are, you know, you don't have the inside track that I do. I know that I don't need to work on that. Um, that's pretty different than what you're saying
yeah. I
about.
think that's an aberration from the faithful proclamation of the gospel. I think it's